Breedinum Radio, brought to you by Pertinier Outdoors, your source for all things deer hunting and the rut here in New York State, right in your backyard, so you can get up in the stand and pound them all season long.
Welcome to part 2, week 1 of season 2 of Breedinum Radio here with Pertinier Outdoors. And we had quite a busy first week here in New York. The weather lined up perfectly. People were out, and a lot of deer hit the ground. So we had quite a few folks we wanted to get together with to share their story. So you heard in part 1, you heard from Danny and Jeff Jones. Both shot their first archery bucks here this past weekend. So congratulations to both of those guys. Off to a great start in deer season 2020. So this week, or this episode, part 2, you're going to hear from Christa Whiteman. She's from downstate in the Catskills area. She harvested her first deer with her bow. So that's an exciting story we're going to hear. We're going to hear from Thomas Whelehan. It's an awful last name to try to say. I'm sure I'm butchering it. But Tom is a follower of ours from Caledonia. He shot a nice buck on opening Saturday. So last Saturday the 3rd, we'll hear that story. And then we'll hear from cousin Joe Harvey. He had a productive weekend last weekend as well, as it was his last-ditch effort to put some meat in the freezer for the family before he headed off to boot camp with the Navy. So 3 quick stories coming to you. Everybody out there who is listening, everybody out there who's following along, feel free to reach out if you have a successful hunt and you'd like to share your story. Let us know. We want to continue this right throughout the season and just kind of go with the flow on it, see how it goes. And if there's a pile of them, we'll just keep dumping them out. If there's a couple each week, we'll do that. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate the support. Good luck this weekend, and shoot straight. Enjoy. Good. So we got 20 minutes till the next call, so that means we have a deadline, which is a good thing for me.
Me too.
I can be a little long-winded. So, Christa, thanks for jumping on. This will be week 1 of Breedinum Radio, and you're on here because you laid the smackdown on your first whitetail. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So run us through it. I guess give us a little background. I know a bunch about you because we've been doing a bunch with BHA together. Mm-hmm. But how long you been hunting? This is kind of a new endeavor for you. So this is a big first for you. So kind of give us a little bit of your background on that.
Well, yeah, I'm a totally new hunter. I've been hunting now. I think this will be my 3rd full season hunting, mostly bow. My first season, I only hunted bow. I didn't even hunt the regular general season. And I have been trying very hard to learn how to do this hunting thing as an adult without really not having any family members or mentors, really any folks taking me out in the field. So I hunt almost exclusively by myself. The lands that I have hunted are all places that I've scouted and tried to pick out my own places to set up and put tree stands up and all that kind of jazz. So this was a lot of hard work, finally come full circle and realized, and that's probably the part that I'm the most excited about.
Absolutely. So this was opening morning. So paint the picture for us. So it was opening morning. It was a beautiful day. I know it was up here. I assume you're downstate, so I'm assuming it was pretty nice down there as well.
Yep. Well, what's funny is I almost didn't go out that morning because I was looking at the temperatures and I was looking at the wind. And the wind was a little bit, it was actually opposite what I would have liked, but it was less than 5 miles an hour was the predicted wind. And I thought we were going to get that cold front come through, but it still was maybe like 52 degrees at 7 o'clock. So it was not even that cold.
Yeah.
So I almost didn't go, but I was like, this was a new property to me. It was a friend of mine who has like a private parcel of 20 acres that she offered to let me hunt this year. And I had set the stand up last Saturday after running a trail camera and doing some scouting there this summer. And I decided I would just like go in anyway and see what I see. Since I hadn't been on that property before, I didn't know, I had some ideas about how deer would be moving on it, but no like confirmation of any of that. So I walk in that morning in the dark. I think I got stalked by a bear.
For real?
Something was like eyeballing me and was not scared of me.
That's pretty wild.
I walked into the woods. So I'm walking in with like my bow in one hand and a knife in the other hand, just in case. And I climb up my tree stand, and I got there a little bit later than what I would have liked, because I was watching the sun start to come up and light up the horizon as I was climbing in and getting settled. And I had set up my hang-on platform stand, but I was running actually my tree saddle harness instead of my regular harness. And that was actually pretty clutch, because it let me go from standing and using my tree stand as like a platform, just a really big one, to it's not the most comfortable position, but I could kind of turn and sit on it if I wanted to take a break from standing. And it was a pretty quiet morning. I actually didn't see any deer, hear anything moving about, just a bunch of like squirrels and woodpeckers. And then I had been texting a friend who had been out that morning and told me about a doe that he nearly missed on. And I was actually standing up and facing the tree that I was hanging in, since I was in the saddle. And as I slid my phone like kind of back into my backpack, that was on my right hand side as I'm looking at the tree, and my bow was on the left hand side. And I look down and I see antlers moving through the forest between where I have my tree stand set up, and there's a fence line where somebody runs cows, and there's a cow pasture on the property border. And so that was my theory, is that the deer were running into that pasture at night, and I was set up in what I'm calling kind of like a staging area almost, where the forest is a little bit open. It's not quite thick bedding cover, but it's easy for them to walk through in the cover of the trees and find little places to hop the fence into the cow pasture.
Yeah.
So he comes strolling like right up along the fence line from the south neighbor's property. And I saw him when he was on the right side of the tree, and I was just like, all right, here we go. And picked up my bow in my left hand, clipped on my release, took a quick look ahead to where he was headed. And I was like, if he keeps going that direction that he's walking in, here's my shooting lane. I'm letting that arrow go when he steps right here. And that's pretty much what happened. He just kept staying on course, never winded me, never seemed to get any idea that I was even there. I drew the bow back, let it go, watched it hit him. He ran a couple of yards, maybe like 10, maybe 12, and then kind of like slowed down and walked off. And actually at first I thought, like, did I actually hit him? He just like walked off very casually, even kind of like looked around and like, what happened there? And then headed off into this like thick stand of little baby white pines. And I lost sight of him after that. And I kept replaying it in my head. Like, I really thought I heard the sound of the arrow hitting the side of him. And I looked down and I was trying to see if I could see my arrow. And eventually the sun caught it a certain way where I was able to see it laying on the ground. And he had passed less than 14 yards from where I was in the stand. And so I could see it, and I got out my binos and I'm looking at it on the ground. I'm like, yep, there's blood on it. There's blood on the broadhead. There's blood on the fletching. Like definitely hit him. Definitely got a broad pass through. But I couldn't, obviously from that distance, tell like the color so well, or if there was anything like kind of chunky. So then I start texting and emailing everybody I know, all the hunters I know, like, oh my gosh, this just happened. And luckily a friend of mine had already told me, he's like, if you get anything tomorrow, give me a call. I'll be there to come help you with the field dressing and dragging it out. So I sent a text to him, and then I waited in the stand for an hour. I know they say like a half an hour, but it took me like a half an hour to stop shaking and just, oh my gosh, did that really happen?
Yeah.
It like just went so smoothly and just I mean, when I replay it in my head, I don't even remember having a conscious thought of like releasing the arrow. Like I don't even remember putting the pin where I wanted it. It actually all happened very instinctively. And as I replayed it in my head while I was in the stand, I know the shot landed a little bit further back than what I would have liked for a double lung. So I was like, but it wasn't off the ribs. So I was like, I'm looking at a liver shot, I think, but I wasn't sure exactly the angle of the exit. So I gave it an hour before I climbed out of the stand. Took me a whole half an hour to stop shaking. So that extra half hour was good. And then after an hour, I climbed down. I checked the arrow. Didn't see anything gut on the arrow, but didn't see anything lung on the arrow either. So I was still kind of going with my theory that it was a liver shot. I marked where the arrow was, and I marked like the next drop of blood, and then backed out as quietly as I could without disturbing anything. Went back out the way that I came and went back to my truck and waited for my buddy to show up.
So then
so he shows up, and we go in, and we start tracking, and actually he looked at the arrow too, and he's like, yeah, this looks good. Like there's enough blood on it, and it's high vital blood. He's like, he's probably dead by now, wherever he is. But there was only like one other obvious kind of like blood spot that I had already marked. And then like we had kind of lost the trail. We couldn't find any more blood. Luckily, after the shot, I had the presence of mind to watch very carefully exactly where he went and make sort of like mental notes of what trees he passed by, what kind of like little landmarks before he hooked around into the white pine. And so there was a point where there was like a little bit of a clearing where I remember him kind of turning around and looking back to where the arrow hit him and sort of just being like, what was that? And so I was like, I know he came to this clearing and this is where he paused before he like hooked around into the white pines. So we were standing there and we're looking into the white pines, getting ready to walk in there when my buddy Bill is like, oh, I see it. He's down. And
so he didn't go far. He went into the pines and piled up.
I think probably 50 yards tops.
Wow.
And when I got to him, the exit side was the side up, and I could see like, frothy, bubbly kind of stuff. So I'm pretty sure. And then once we did the whole dressing and butchering, he was quartering too a little bit. So it entered at the liver, but it definitely came out through the lung. So
nice.
Yeah.
So he would have been quartering away. If you hit the right. So he was facing away from you a little bit. So it came out more forward than it came in, right?
Sorry, he was heading from like my right to my left side.
Yeah.
So I hit him on his left side was the entrance wound on his liver, and it came out the far side, which was his right side, on the lung.
Gotcha. So you had one good lung and cut him good enough that he was bleeding heavily.
Yes.
Curious. So what are you pulling weight wise on your bow, and what are you using for an arrow setup?
My bow is a 50-pound bow, and I have it maxed out at 50 pounds. It's a Bowtech Carbon Rose. And for arrows, I have my good hunting arrows are Gold Tip Hunter Pros. I think they're 500 spine.
Yeah.
I have these fathead broadheads that I'm running. I think they're 125 grains, and then whatever just the fletching is that's on the Gold Tips. So yeah. I don't get super nerdy about it because I just don't have a frame of reference to get that nerdy about it.
Yeah. Well, it's great. The reason why I asked is because to me, this has been a common theme in the discussions I've been having for this week's episode is that everyone had a pretty sharp broadhead setup, and those arrows are passing through the deer so quickly, and for you, you're not pulling 65 or 70 pounds. So for a 50-pound draw weight and a fairly light arrow, 500 spine, you can only get so much weight on that thing that you blew right through that animal.
Yep.
One lung, it went 50 yards. Like, I think it's pretty impressive. The performance of that.
I had some help making sure those broadheads were extra sharp the night before.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes.
It's really important. I mean, I think there's a lot of deer lost with, someone that's shooting, and I'm just regurgitating what I've heard, but it makes sense that, shooting expandable broadheads on a lighter draw weight bow, so with less energy and a lighter arrow, it just takes so much force to open that broadhead that who knows? I mean, you may not have gotten a full pass through on that, and he may have gone a little ways, or maybe you didn't get all the way through to that other lung if you were using an expandable. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think my first season hunting, on somebody's recommendation, I had gotten some Rage hypodermic expandables, and just even putting them on with the collar and getting the right amount of tension on them so that like the collar would break, that would cause them to expand. It even just shooting them at targets and stuff like that, it didn't feel like it was a very predictable setup.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even just like shooting them and putting them on. So I went to a fixed blade broadhead. And what I like about those fat heads is, like, even though I'm shooting a fairly lightweight grain broadhead, they are set so that they're like one of the widest broadheads you can get at that weight.
Yeah.
So they create like a fairly good sized hole.
Yeah, you get a good wound channel. Yeah.
Yeah. The fat head, and too, if somebody wants to look that up, it's PHAT.
Okay. Cool. I haven't heard of those. I'll have to check them out.
A buddy of mine in Michigan recommended them. I can't even tell you now who the actual manufacturer is. I'd have to look it up, but that is one of those things. Like, one of my buddies was just like, "Get these broadheads." I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it.
I don't know enough about shooting animals to know which broadhead I should or shouldn't get.
Yeah, they worked.
They did.
Well, huge congratulations. I was super happy to see you posting about that, and hopefully that's the first of many, many more. And
got 3 more tags this year, man.
Hey, keep shooting.
Totally.
So, all right, I will let you run. We got that other call coming up, but congrats again. Thank you for jumping on this week.
Sure. Thanks, Phil.
Right, see you, Christa.
Rock on. How's it going, man?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm out in my garage as we are having issues putting my 2.5-year-old son down, which is par for the course at this stage of the game. So, and as we talked about yesterday, you're in the same boat.
Yeah.
It's
so
probably a worse one.
Well, to each his own. Billy went down pretty easy tonight, but I was sitting down here just on the recording a podcast with somebody else, and I was just listening to Kate scream bloody murder in my ears. I was like, earphones in. It's like, I hear nothing.
Right. I was kind of down in my den just now, and my wife tried to leave the room.
Yeah. I think your microphone might be covered up.
Yep, it was. Is that better?
That's better. Perfect.
Sorry, I had my pinky around it.
It's all good. So, what's up? First off, thank you so much for following along and being a listener to the podcast. You and I have gotten to message quite a bit.
Yeah, man.
Following along, listening. So thank you for that.
Dude, fanatic.
It's good stuff, man. We're hoping it keeps growing. I think this is going to be a big season for us, and excited. Obviously the season's here, but it's off to a hot start. A lot of people had success this past weekend, and I'm pretty excited about it. So
absolutely. How could you not be? This is the time of year that you guys like you and I live for,
Yep.
So
it's
upon us. It's pretty crazy. I can't believe I'm already tagged out. It feels weird.
Have you ever
I didn't suffer enough.
Have you ever done that this early?
Nope.
No.
Nope. The earliest I've shot an archery whitetail was October 16th.
Yeah.
Which was my last archery whitetail.
It's good and bad, man. I've never shot a buck this early, so I can't say I've ever experienced that, but it's like But the season, you build it up so much, and then it's finally here, and you go and do what you did and fill your tag, and it's like, yeah, hell yeah, I filled my tag. But then it's like I have 5 weeks until I can put a tag in my pocket again. But
Exactly.
On the flip side, it's like I'm sitting here and I only got 2 sits in over the weekend, and it's already the 7th of October, and I'm like, freaking season's almost over. It's like flying by.
Right. Oh, I know it. I know it. It's either it goes too fast or at the end of the day, I would rather be in the boat I'm in with having to wait. And that's ultimately why I ended up shooting that deer.
Yeah.
I would rather be in this position having shot this deer now than having tag soup later on and having regrets about not shooting it. So
yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's run through it. So set the stage. When did it happen? Where were you?
Yeah. So this was Saturday, the morning of Saturday, October 3rd. I actually had some family in town. Hold on 1 second here, Billy. My lab is whining.
He wants to be on the podcast.
Go away, you mongrels. Sorry about that.
It's all good. You got the COVID too?
What's that?
You got the COVID too
cough?
over there? Yeah.
No, not quite. Not quite. I'm feeling good. But it was this past Saturday, Billy, October 3rd. I actually had my brother and sister-in-law in town bow hunting, and that was to be Friday through Monday. They were going to stay here at Carly, and Carly is my wife. She's a bow hunter as well.
Nice.
They were going to stay here and hunt some property here nearby, and we were hoping to get them on some deer as they're both experienced archers, but in terms of whitetail bow hunting, pretty new to it. My brother-in-law has shot deer with a firearm. I'm not sure the extensiveness of his archery history. So it was, my focus actually this past weekend was really to try and put them on any deer, ethical shot at any deer for them. So that Saturday morning, as you know, there's a little bit of a front pushing through, and the barometer was rising, and things were looking good. So we were actually, all four of us were hunting the same piece. I initially was kind of wishy-washy on that because it just felt a little cramped. But by the time that I got kind of them located and whatnot, it was a little too late for me to decide otherwise.
Yeah.
So I ended up kind of moving off to where I thought I was out of the way of them, honestly, and where I thought maybe I could, observe some movement and kind of give them a heads up. Hey, this is coming up this way, and so on. Kind of like an observation type of location.
Sure.
And I actually did not see a deer until at least 8 o'clock. I had a doe and 2 fawns come down in front of me, and I would have shot the doe had she given me a shot within range, which honestly I'm obviously happy about now that didn't happen. Yeah. So she ended up moving off, and I glassed her, and as she they were also feeding on acorns in this little flat here. And as they fed off, there was kind of my sight picture was kind of obscured a little bit, and there was a little bit of an interchange of deer going on kind of off in the distance. And I kind of assumed, Billy, that it was the doe and fawns, and they were feeding and just kind of moseying back and forth, and that's what I was seeing. But after a couple of minutes, kind of these deer started working back the direction the does came from, and I caught a glance of antlers. So I could see these deer pretty well, but there was enough cover in the woods that kind of at that rack level, I would only get glances of what they had up top, here and there. So as they kind of fed across, I had them through the binoculars, and they very slowly worked their way over, and they were actually kind of headed as I initially intended, like kind of out in front of me toward the rest of the group. But they got to this one area and kind of just stood there for a second and broke south toward me. And I'm sitting there, and this first deer walks in, and when I first kind of got a good look at both of them, my initial instinct was that they were 2.5-year-old deer from a distance. But as the lead one got a little closer to me, I was like, I don't know. He's not a super high scoring whitetail, but on the hoof, he was a heavy animal. He's 220 on the hoof.
Wow.
I like to get him back here before I don't like gutting them in the woods. Just kind of one of those anal retentive things of mine. I like to bring them back here first. But anyway, they started working in, and I actually was videotaping them with my phone as they started working in, because my instinct, like I said, was that these were not deer I was going to shoot. But as this first one worked in, and I started getting a better look at him, and he's working closer, and eventually he starts to kind of work off. He gave me a great shot opportunity. I didn't even have my bow in my hand. And I see him walking away. And I said to myself, what are you doing? This would be your best archery whitetail. And that should be the basis upon which you make this decision.
Yeah.
There's obviously a lot of hype around managing for trophy whitetails. And I do like to do that. And we all aspire to kind of grow and whatnot. But, I kind of snapped out of this fog of like, Tom, this would be your best bow buck.
Yeah.
Come on, wake up. So as he kind of walked, he actually tried to kind of win me in this little area, but the way he was set up, it wasn't going to work. So I put my phone away, God damn it, and grabbed my bow. And actually at this point, the other buck that was behind him, which was actually a pretty formidable whitetail, actually probably had longer tines, but did appear to be a lighter bodied deer, younger deer. At this point, he was below me, probably 15 yards. So I'm grabbing my bow and I'm really being cognizant of this other deer that's actually closer to me. And I come to full draw and I bleat and stop this other deer at about 30 yards. And I touch off the release and the arrow hits high and back. And I immediately, just sick to my stomach. I mean, just in terms of shot placement, it was just like, couldn't have been worse.
Yeah.
At least my initial notion. But I know it's a pass through when I saw it. Hit him high and back, pass through, and he bounds probably 10 yards or so, Billy, and stands there. And he's right in a gap where I can see him clearly now. And his wound starts pumping bright red blood. I'm going, huh? So at this point, I've already scrambled to knock another arrow to try and get a shot on him. And as soon as I start to kind of draw back on the second shot, he takes another step and just goes into a pile. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this doesn't add up.
Yeah.
So I put the binoculars on him and he lifts his head up for a second and just drops it. And I give him about 5 minutes, put the binoculars up again. He's stone dead. So I eventually got down and over to him. And what I've concluded is that when I hit that release, he must have set his feet to run. I do remember him setting his feet to run, but he must have, when he did that, he must have quartered to me a skosh. And by virtue of that angle hitting him high and back, I mean, the worst shot I've ever made on a whitetail, no question about it. I was lucky enough that when he set his feet, he quartered to me, and I actually exited the back right ham.
Yeah, you hit an artery back there.
And I hit the femoral artery.
Yeah. Wow.
And I couldn't believe it. You know, I'm standing over this deer, and it's like, Tom, you just made the worst shot you've ever made on a whitetail in your bow hunting career, and the thing didn't go 10 yards. And you know, it's important not to lose sight of the fact that it was a bad shot.
Yeah.
And I got away with it. I think that's a key takeaway. Sometimes, you know, I was shooting fixed blade broadhead and passed through the femur. So I think it's, you know, even though I found the deer, even though it worked out in my favor, I think it's important to not lose sight of I made a pretty poor shot. As to why I made that poor shot, I'm not sure. It's the first deer I've ever shot out of a saddle. I don't know if that plays a hand in it, what happened, but I made a poor shot and I got away with it, but I need to get better.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I kind of keep coming back to that because you roll the dice, that's 1 out of 100.
Yeah.
That happens like that. So,
yeah, but you gotta, don't beat yourself up on it too much because, it was a lethal shot, just as
right.
good as hitting them in the boiler room. Obviously that's not where you were aiming, but it was a very clean, fatal kill. It's not like he didn't go very far, but yeah, it happens, man. If you hunt archery for long enough, like, you're going to have bad experiences like that. And luckily that was pretty fortunate that he did corner a little bit, because you're able to get back into that artery and finish him pretty quick. But
exactly, it was an effective location nonetheless. The deer didn't suffer or anything like that. I mean, that's as short of a blood trail as I've ever, it all happened right in front of me.
You could see it. Yeah.
It was like, what?
Yeah.
But, just, and then when I get, I kind of texted all my buddies and texted my dad and, said I shot a pretty good one, and, not exactly sure what he's got going on upstairs. I got a pretty good look at him, but the closer I got to him, the more I was like, yeah, I don't regret this a single bit.
Oh, it's a beautiful buck, man. He's good heavy horn. It's a nice buck.
Absolutely. He ended up having he's a mainframe 9. The 9th point, he must have broke off sparring already. So it's not measurable or reportable, I guess you would say. But that's the frame he has. And he's got a split brow on his right brow tine. And he's got a obscurely long left brow tine with a kicker off that too. So
that's cool.
Yeah, he's got a lot of character, and I'll tell you what, I'm tickled to death to have shot him and be in this boat. And from here on out, I'm gonna try and go to Ohio and hunt some public land, and got some time off at the end of October. So
nice.
Hoping to find something and just pick it apart, and this is what I love to do. This is my favorite time of year, so I'm not gonna let it pass by idly.
Yeah, take advantage of not having that tag here and go somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Have you hunted Ohio before? Or?
I have not. I've hunted Kentucky extensively in the past for both turkeys and whitetails. I've never shot a whitetail down there, but there were probably 2-3 years in a row where a good buddy of mine, Justin Falzer, and I went down there for that Labor Day kind of velvet opener.
Okay.
Down in Kentucky. So he's hunted Ohio a bit. So I'm just really looking forward, just really not having a clue, Billy.
Yeah.
Just going there and kind of picking a couple places. And I have a full work week off. I don't think I'm going to get, with my obligations at home, I don't think I'm going to get 9 consecutive days of hunting by any means.
Yeah.
But I think northeastern Ohio is close enough that I'm not that far away. And I think I have a good chunk of time to really pick apart some places and roll the dice. I think just kind of the mystery of it and the adventure is pretty fun. So
it is. That's a huge part of it, man. So what from that hunt on Saturday, what's a takeaway that you took from maybe your guys' setup or where you were hunting, what the focus was that ended up getting that deer killed?
Yeah. So I think a couple of the focus points there were mass crop. I know last year we had a great acorn crop, but for some strange reason, it seems that we have a really good acorn crop in a lot of places again this year.
Yeah.
So that was a huge factor because these 2 bucks browsed on acorns for a half hour as they made their way over to me. I think a big player in that was kind of the weather pattern that we were capturing prior to it and after it now has been kind of stale.
Yeah.
So I think I just kind of happened to capitalize on a really good day of deer conditions, so to speak. And another, I think, takeaway, Billy, is these two bucks, at least by me, appeared to be on a summer pattern of some type still. I mean, they still seem to be pretty docile with each other.
Yeah.
They were not aggressive by any means. They really tolerated each other, and kind of two bucks of this kind of equal stature, you'd think would be testy with each other, but they seemed to be pretty calm and kind of, I think all the factors played in. There was a full moon, October 1st, I think it was, or October 2nd.
Yeah,
so
it was right around I think we're tailing off of it right now. So yeah, it must have been about 7 days ago.
Right. And I'm not a moon nut by any means. I don't, that doesn't dictate my decision making, but I know some guys look into that, and I believe there was a setting moon that morning. I think I just happened to catch a bunch of factors at the same time that happened to have these bucks getting back to bed late.
Yeah. Yeah. I Saturday morning, I was really excited about my hunt, and I didn't see a damn thing until 10 o'clock when I was climbing down out of the stand. I was one stick down, bow on my backpack, one stick here, and I got 3 does come cruising through, and I'm like, son of a bitch. But it was the first thing, and I was right in the bedding area. So for me, it was like, I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. I haven't seen anything this morning. I figured they'd be back in, but the moon was, you said it was like a setting moon later in the morning. So they were probably up feeding. There's a lot of good mass crop and acorn. So it's going to be, I think
I'd like to say that I had them on camera, Billy, and I had them dead to rights, and I went, no. I mean, it was, I was struck by lightning. I was in the right place at the right time, but I do think the fact that I was out there, with all these conditions at play, kind of attributed to some of the success.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think about as we go into this weekend. I'll probably post this on Friday morning. And if people are looking forward to this weekend, what to be thinking about. But I've been watching. We got all the trail cameras we're running, and it certainly seems like the deer are, we've had a couple warm days in a row here and some kind of nasty, snotty weather that they haven't been moving a ton during daylight hours, but we're starting to see a couple of the more mature bucks get up on their feet and start working scrapes, which we haven't seen yet. But I don't suspect that we'll be seeing real great buck movement in the next 7 to 10 days.
No, Saturday looks pretty. I'm taking a 15-year-old out this Saturday.
Oh, it's youth weekend this weekend, right?
Yep. It's the youth weekend. So, got that Rona, Billy.
Rona, yeah.
That Rona, baby.
That 2.5-year-old Rona son of a bitch has been coughing in my face for a freaking month.
Oh my God. These kids are walking petri dishes.
Oh Jesus.
It's like, hey Max, take the rock out of your mouth, dude. Yeah. Come on.
Hey, whatever helps them stay healthy in the long run. That's all I care about.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. But I'm taking a 15-year-old out this Saturday, and it looks 75 and sunny, and
just it's a doe. Yeah,
it's a doe day.
Yeah,
exactly.
Doe day. So yeah, I doubt there'll be a whole lot of bucks moving Saturday. Maybe Saturday night you might catch one, but I don't know.
Right, but then again, Sunday, and one factor I do really pay attention a lot to is the barometer. I've had just really good experience with just hunting apexes and rising barometers. And Sunday is supposed to top out again. It's supposed to get pretty high. 30.1 is supposed to, what is it, 10 a.m. It's supposed to hit that Sunday. So I think Sunday morning could have some promise. I think, you could have some deer on their feet late in the morning, but Saturday just looks like, first thing or nothing.
Yeah. Well, around here, so Western New York, I'm going to say they're calling for east winds Sunday and Monday. And those are odd winds for us. We don't usually get east. Yeah. So we typically on the farm have a lot of success on east winds because we can hunt a lot of spots that we normally can't.
Right.
And you can kind of get in on them. So if you're somebody who's, looking at the weekend, I would say Sunday and Monday with a holiday on Monday might be good days to try to get out there and hunt some spots that you can get a little aggressive on.
Absolutely. That east wind is a killer. Because it's such a change up, and you can really access some areas that otherwise you would just blow things up. And I think Jesse Coots is like, east wind's the kill one.
Yeah.
So if that's something that, plays into somebody's stand set or an idea, location that they have in mind for this weekend, capitalize on those types of factors, especially in spots that you wouldn't be able to hunt otherwise.
Yep. It's good stuff, man.
Absolutely, dude.
Well, good luck to you this weekend and the rest of the season. I'm sure we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll follow along as I have been and keep putting out great content and keeping desk jockeys like me entertained Monday through Friday. We really appreciate it. It keeps us sane as we pound away at spreadsheets and keyboards and things of the like. So
I love it, man. It's good
thanks
stuff.
for having me on, Billy.
Yeah, appreciate it. Good luck, and hopefully we'll catch up one of these days.
Yes, sir. Likewise.
All right.
Take
See
care,
you, Tom.
man.
Take it easy. Welcome to Breedinum Radio.
Happy to be here.
What the hell's the deal with you not responding to my text message for 2 days? What the hell have you been doing?
I'm not good at texting, and it slipped by me, and somehow I was sitting here in the hotel room on my phone, and I was like, holy shit, Billy texted me 2 days ago.
Yeah, I told you we were going to try to get together Monday.
Yeah, I thought you never texted me.
Well,
I was like, oh, I guess he didn't want to do that.
see, that's where you think I'm just a bad person, but I'm really not.
I know. Yeah, now I look like the asshole here.
Yep.
But
well, we all know who the asshole was in this conversation. All right. Well, we got you here because you had quite the weekend of success in the deer woods, and your last weekend before you head off to boot camp. So that's what you're doing right now, right? You're in the hotel waiting to leave tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow's a big day. Just chilling out now.
Nice. Where are you headed?
To the best of my knowledge, it's 2 weeks of quarantine beforehand. So I think they're doing that in Wisconsin, and then after that to Chicago for basic training.
You going to Kenosha, or what are you doing?
Kenosha?
Yeah. Okay, you're clearly too young to understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm a little. I'm a little.
You're gonna go fight on the streets with Kyle Rittenhouse before.
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
Now you get it. Yeah.
Now
Okay.
I'm getting you.
All right. Just very awkward and uncomfortable.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So first and foremost, congrats on your endeavors, and thank you for your service jumping into the military. We're very proud of you. Second
Thank you.
generation Harvey in that bloodstream to be heading to the military. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's exciting. Thank you.
For sure. So let's talk about the whacking and stacking you did this weekend. So run us through it. Was it Thursday night you shot a doe?
Yeah. So Thursday night, we do you want the whole setup and everything?
Sure. What it looked like?
So we were sitting. My friend, he has some farm property, and we were sitting in a side field out there, and just on the edge of the field, there were a couple pine trees, and I had a little bit of camo netting. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this out. And we strung up the camo netting between some pine trees, and me and my other buddy just like hopped behind it because we knew deer would pile out in the field. So we sat there all night, and probably an hour before dark, probably like 6 o'clock. I looked to my left, and there's 4 doe like 10 yards from us in the woods with us, about to pop out into the field. So we're sitting there like, okay, that worked a little bit too well. Like, we can't move, we can't do nothing. So they walk out into the field, and at first I wasn't supposed to shoot the deer. It was my buddy shot. So he goes to draw back, and because we were like right there, and he didn't have a face mask with him.
Yeah.
And it sees us, and that doe is 5 yards away, just locked on. Sees us, does a little stomp, and I'm expecting like, man, this hunt's blown. The deer like turns around like it's gonna walk into the woods, so he lets down off his draw, and it starts turning around like to come back out. I don't know if it couldn't smell us, so it was trying to like circle, get our wind or something. No clue.
Yeah.
But it walks back out, and I'm like, all right, I'm shooting this thing. So I get drawn back on it, and at this point, it's like a very heavy quartering facing me, like almost straight on. And it's like 10 yards away, and it starts doing that foot stomp again. And I was like, this is the only shot I'm going to get. And I had been actually practicing a lot with my bow this year, so I was pretty confident. And I slid it in, basically a frontal shot, right, I guess you'd say behind shoulder there.
Yeah.
And it went like 100 yards and just piled.
It was in
shot.
front of the shoulder, right? It was like right in the brisket.
Yeah, like straight. If you're looking at a deer front on, it went right to the side of the shoulder.
Yeah.
But it's just a perfect shot. The lungs were unrecognizable when I, gutted it out and stuff. So it was a little bit risky, but it was ethical. Got it down fast.
It was epical.
Ethical.
Oh, ethical. It was
Yeah.
epical and ethical. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know what that first word means.
Well, it's epic, and it was a coal. It was epical. Yeah, that'll be a new word used on the Pert in Your Outdoors podcast. Epical.
I will claim that word, epical.
Actually, epical. We can make this epical is epic, and it's ethical. It's epical.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be like your dad saying "hunt over." It's the same thing.
Okay, I like that.
Okay, so you shot the doe.
Yep.
You were feeling good. You guys, it was fairly warm. We don't have the cooler ready yet at Dad's house. So I think you guys processed that in the garage, right?
Yeah, we cut that up the next morning.
Nice.
Right in the garage. It was getting cold enough at night where it could hang, but we got that all processed.
Nice. So then was it Saturday morning that you had the second round of success?
Yeah, that was the buck. And after this, I got a funny story about that same freestand from Monday night.
Okay, well then let her rip.
So Saturday morning, one of my buddies came home from college because he wanted to go on a couple hunts with me before he left. And so I was like, you know what? I got this double way out back by the sheep pasture. So we're sitting in like near the corner of the field looking out, probably like 10, 20 yards into the woods. And we're sitting there. It gets like 7:30. I'm kind of like I don't have trail cameras out there, so I'm starting to lose hope. I'm like, I don't know if there's deer here. So I'm playing on my phone, kind of angry. Like, oh, this sucked. I look up from my phone, and we have a little clearing that is brush hogged down. And I look up, and there's just a buck, like 50 yards away. So my friend's also on his phone, and I'm like, dude, don't move. Just take my cell phone. Like, look at the ground, take the phone. I'm going to shoot this deer. So my dad's calling me 1 second. I just got to decline that.
Okay.
So that buck, it was probably like 40, 50 yards out in the field. It does its thing, and I'm expecting it to go. Normally, they like to go into the corner there where I can't really get a shot at him. But this guy turned and just beelined it straight to me. Like, there's a trail that we walked in on that this buck walked halfway in and just looks at us. Like, he had to smell us or something. But, like, he came down the field edge, and then tried to walk in the woods with us. And I wasn't expecting that. So I'm full draw. I'm just, like, sitting there like, okay, this is kind of awkward. He backs out of the woods. So, like, takes a couple steps back and starts walking down the trail. And there was a good clearing there, and I whacked him. Like, it was like 20-yard shot. So
nice.
Yeah, he put it in my lap for me. It was beautiful. And then the funny part about that stand is I sat there Monday night hoping to get a doe, and 2 bigger bucks walked out in front of me. Did the same thing. Yeah, that's how luck goes.
That's the way
I'm
it
so happy
works.
I got something down.
Yeah, and that's your first buck. I mean, you've been hunting with your bow since you were 14, right? So
I know. I've killed plenty of deer, but that's the first buck.
You shot a couple bucks with your gun before, so that's not your first buck, but
yeah, first buck with a bow.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
So yeah, it was a great feeling. Yeah, it was exciting. It was pretty special too, doing that just a couple days before I leave, getting a good season in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you had what many people would have for success in a whole season. You had in just a weekend, so that's pretty awesome. Yeah,
I've been pretty lucky.
So you're just gonna let your family eat that meat because now you're leaving. So,
I guess so. I've been like living off a backstrap for the last few days. So I ate up most of the backstrap, and I guess they get to keep the rest.
Yeah, it's the least you could do for them dealing with all your bullshit for the last 18 years.
Yeah, I figured take some pressure off of Dad, let him have relaxing hunting season, and I'll take care of the meat.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Good stuff, man. Well, that's all I needed to get from you. I wanted to hear the story. I wanted to share it with the listeners. So good stuff. Awesome. You actually are watching South Park.
Oh yeah, no, I'm really watching South Park.
You're really watching South Park. I didn't even know that was still on TV.
Oh yeah, tune into Comedy Central, man, like every night.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, just all South Park.
Yep. All right,
But,
Joe. Well,
yeah.
hopefully, I guess we probably won't see you for a little while.
Yeah, till December.
You're going to be home in December?
Basic training should be over mid-December, so then I'll get my phone back and all of that.
Okay.
And then I think I get to come home for Christmas, so I'll be back. I'll be back around pretty soon.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they'll
Yeah.
have that late deer season they're talking about from Christmas to New Year's, and we'll be able to do a little
Man,
hunting
I
when
would
you're
love
home.
that.
That'd be cool.
would. That would be pretty awesome right there.
Yep.
I'm a big advocate for that one.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. All right, Joe. Good luck, buddy. Stay strong. Think about Jocko. Be a savage. Don't ring the bell.
Gonna go get some.
Yeah, get some. All right. See you, Joe. Take it easy, buddy. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, see ya.
Adios. Bye.